Okay, so here's what we're starting with. The couple of assets I already have in place are the image, which has already been masked, and my color scheme. So I go to Adobe Color to select colors, and essentially what I do is I scroll through, I look at an image, I find something I like, click here. It allows you to download it as a JPEG, or if you have the Creative Cloud, you can add it to your library. So that's what I did. So this is what we're starting out with. So first things first, let's get the base in place. I'm going to go ahead and hide this. So let's get the base in place. I'm going to add a new layer. Click on the foreground, and I want this color here to be the base. Right. Now to fill the layer is Alt and backspace, and that fills the layer. The next thing I want in looking at the background, we'll turn it off, is this part right here. And I'm going to use a shape to do that. So I'm going to go to my rectangle tool. And if I click here, I'll go ahead and click on this. It allows me to pick a color. I'm going to pick this dark color here. And I'm just going to draw the shape. I'm going to start on the outside of the canvas and work my way to this corner right here. Now what you'll see is that I have these little icons here, and what this does is it rounds the corners of the rectangle. So right now I have a square corner. If I move this in now, I create a radius around that corner. So we're gonna and if I come over here to my properties panel and scroll down, I have it here as well. So I can just type it in if I want to get specific, 45. And you see, because I have the aspect ratio locked, all of the corners are now at 45. And that's fine because 3 of the corners you can't even see. Okay, hit enter. Now we have to give it this shape. And we're going to just hit Control T, right click to distort. And I'm going to move this center out here. And you can see I can move it around like this. Well, what I'm going to do is, to maintain the shape, press the Shift key. And now it rotates. It distorts left and right. So, right. Final thing, you can see we have this space here, so we need to resize it. So I'm going to press enter, Control T. But if I resize it from here, the anchor, you can see the anchor is in the center. So if I try to resize it, it's resizing it from the center. Even if I hold down the Alt key, you can see it's resizing from that anchor. So let me escape there. So Control T. So I want to move where the pivot point is. So I'm going to take this anchor and I'm going to move it here. This is my pivot point, and I want to resize from there. So now when I press the Alt key and resize, it resizes from that position, and I can move it, get it lined up perfectly. Okay. Should be on the top. So now we have that, but this is too dark. So I could change the color to get a lighter color, closer to this color. So we can do that 2 ways. We can just press and hold. We can press this brightness and just move our lever You can see that changed the brightness, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to change the opacity. And the opacity is just the transparency. How transparent is the layer? We're going to take it down to about 30%. Yeah, 30% is good. So I'm just changing the opacity, change to how transparent the layer is. Okay. So our background is done. All right. So now the next thing we have are the lines. So we have our lines here. Let's go ahead and create those lines. Now these lines are in the shape of the shape we just created. So we're just going to duplicate the shape. And we're going to take the opacity back up to 100% for right now. And I'm going to double click on it. And I'm going to get the layer style and I'm going to go to stroke. Okay. And the stroke is on the outside. I want it 3. I want white. Maybe we make it a little bit smaller. Let's go to 2. Okay. So we go to 2. And you can see now that we have our stroke. The thing is that we still have this dark space here. We want this inside to be transparent. Now, just as we did before, I could come in and just lower the opacity. But what happens is it lowers the opacity of the stroke. All right. That's not what we want. So let's take this back to 100. We want the effect, the stroke, to be 100% visible, and we want the fill to be transparent, 100% transparent. And so rather than changing the opacity, we're going to change the fill. And the fill, just in our first layer, to fill that layer, we went Alt and Backspace. Well, now with fill, we can put this to 0. But any effect, and you can see we have an effect on our layer, any effect is not impacted by fill, only the actual fill layer. So now that we have that, I can go Control T, move it. It's about right here, somewhere right there. We can turn that on just. If we want to make it exact, we could do that, but doesn't need to be exact. Okay, so now that we have that one, let's go ahead and turn this off. We need the second one. So I'm just going to hit Control J to duplicate it. Double click on the stroke, and we're going to change the color of the stroke to this light orange. And we're going to make it slightly bigger. It was 2. Let's go ahead and make it 4. Maybe 3. Let's make it 3. All right. And we're going to move that here. Let's put it right there. Okay. So now we have those two shapes. We can do the same thing here. So we can go ahead and grab this shape, double click on it, and the same thing as before, do the stroke, hit enter, change the fill to 0. And now what we're going to do is let's put that here. And we'll distort. Maybe not as much this time. All right. Okay. And now we'll do the same thing again. Control J, Control T to move it. We'll make it. Let's double click on the stroke. We want this to be white and this to be 2. Okay. Now it is time to create the gradient circles, but let's do something. Let's take these lines and let's group them into, one folder. So we highlight the lines and hit Control G to group. And here's our lines. All right. So I'm going to press create a new layer. I'm going to go to my elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to press and hold the shift key because I want a uniform circle. I'm on a perfect circle. So that's how I get it. We'll make it about this size. And now we want the gradient. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to go to our gradient tool. And I already have my colors here, but let's go ahead and typically this is what it would look like when you first use it. So we're going to press here, press on the color, and then go select this color here. All right. Sometimes this is down to 0. So you'll see something like that. Let me delete that. You'll see something like that. Well, the way you do it, even though you put your color in, and we want, let's say this light color here, you can see it's transparent. You just have to come up to the top icon here and then take this opacity to 100%. Hit OK. Now where you start, it always goes from left to right. So if I were to take my cursor, click here and then drag, you can see the green is here and it's going to the orange. Let me go Control Z. Okay. So we do want the green at the top and we have to figure out where we want to start. I think I'm gonna go a little bit outside of the circle. And go down. I think so. Let's try. I think that's what we want. We'll do, oops. We'll do one more. Let's go inside. Let's try that. Control T to deselect, and we'll just move it here. All right. Control J to create a duplicate. And we'll move it here. All right. All right. Now we have 3 other circles to do, the little dots here. Let's go ahead and create those. So I'm going to just go to my elliptical tool and I will control spacebar to zoom in. And let's just, again, hold down the shift to get it. Okay. All right. Now we're going to need, I'm going to hit enter. Let's go ahead and turn it off so it's here. Okay. So there's our first dot. Let me hit V to get the shortcut for the tool. So we have it here. I'm going to hold down the Alt, drag to create a copy. So those are my 3 copies. Let's go ahead and zoom out again. And the first one, Let's make it white. The second one, let's make it slightly tan. And then the third one, let's make it this. So those will be the three. We'll highlight everything, Control J to create a duplicate. Let's turn this on. Oops. Let's grab these three, Control T. And it's up here somewhere. All right. Right there. Okay. All right. So now we have our circles. Let's go ahead and group those. Control G. These are the circles, and just to make sure, let's throw the ellipses in there as well. So let's throw it all in there. Yeah. Okay. So we have that. We add in our model, which I've already masked. And then what I'm going to do with her is I want her sweater to more closely match this orange. So I'm going to use an adjustment layer. I'm going to use a hue saturation. And you can see I can make an adjustment. The only thing is that it's adjusting everything. So if I hit this button, it creates a clipping mask, and now the only thing it affects is the model. All right. But we need to target because I'm only changing the sweater. So I'm going to go up, instead of master, I'm going to go to yellow. So I only want to impact the yellow. So now you can see that just subtle, just enough to match the rest of it. So I think that's good enough. All right. Now finally is the fonts. So all of the, we're going to come here, we're going to create a box. Let's see. We want this color. Let's turn this off. We want this color. Yeah, let's go with that one. Okay. And we'll come in here and we can type the text in here. What I'm going to do is I'll use let's use that one, and we'll take it to 8. And we'll just say business needs. Now the only thing I did, when I put in selected the font, I had the shape highlighted, so I kind of want to separate those two. I don't really want my font associated with the shape. So I'm going to do that. Okay. So let me open up this. You can see that the kerning is -25. I want to spread that out some. Let me highlight my. Let's make it even more. Let's go 50. Okay. Let's make it a little bit smaller, 16. All right. Now here's the issue. I want this to be middle and center of this box. And the reason I didn't want it in the box because it can work this way, but this is always easier. I'm going to use my marquee tool because the alignment of fonts in Photoshop aligns with the canvas, not so much with the shapes. So we can make the font align with a selection. So I'm going to make a selection. Go to my move tool. When I have my move tool, I get the alignment. So I'm going to center in the middle. And what happens is that Photoshop will align the font, your text, with your selection. So that's what we wanted. So we have that. We're going to make it black. And we have it says 10 steps. All right. Let's go to 60. And we're going to make it bold. And this time, in fact, let me make it maybe make it 50. 50 is too small. 55. All right. Okay. 10 steps. We will make it the same color as that. And it says 10 secret steps to success. Okay, so that's what you want. And it looks like it is too stupid. And we got just put all right, and again we will go with black 36 and the final one is success. All right. All right. So we're going to highlight these three, plus the move, and we're going to distribute them evenly. And we have to all right. Maybe move this down a little bit. Okay. So we have our font in, we have our model in. The only thing that's missing is the name down here. So let's go ahead, put another shape. Let's go ahead and make it white. We'll put it about right here. And we'll move it above. Okay. And let's just put in let's do that. Okay. And that's it. If we wanted to, we can go ahead and take this shape, Control T, right click, distort, and hold down the shift and I do it that way. Hit enter. Okay. And there you have it, your basic thumbnail. Okay, and we're done.